What's good, everybody? It's your boy Philan. Been a few days for me. I haven't really recorded anything, but this is a little different from what I normally do. I just wanted to say a few things about. Since I've started this Game of Thrones blogging and other things, and this has led me to listening to some other content creators. All great. Everybody's awesome, man. Like the guy from Geeks and Gamers, really good. The guy Nerdrotic, that's my man. He's entertaining. I can listen to this dude talk for hours. He goes in on Game of Thrones in ways, especially like when it comes to ranting about the terrible stuff, better than me. And I was listening to him and a lot of others too. The dude Doomcock, crazy name, right? Going in on about like a lot of their complaints with what you see going on in Hollywood with Star Wars, with Captain Marvel, with this new Batwoman SJW thing coming out too, and they brought up a lot of interesting points, and especially when it comes to the SJW. For those who don't know what that is, that social justice warrior messages that you see being implanted in a lot of shows, movies, and a lot of works, which is like really ruffled a lot of feathers, and has caused many people to turn on a lot of Marvel. Marvel really hasn't laid it on that thick, with the exception of maybe Captain Marvel thing, especially since they used Brie Larson to play Captain Marvel, and Brie is a person who has some political views that a lot of people don't like, which I understand, and especially offended are many of the like comic book purists and book purists who don't like Hollywood kind of adding their own stuff that they think is not faithful to like the books or what the author did. Now, I haven't touched on this stuff at all, SJW, and I'm gonna say this: I definitely agree with what my man from Nerdrotic says. The Geeks and Gamers, brother. I'm sorry, man, if I don't remember your name. But the host there, I definitely agree with how people feel about what's going on with Batwoman. I definitely agree with what a lot of people have said about Captain Marvel, with it not being as faithful to the comics, with a lot of the feminism there, and how that can be a turnoff. I get it. The reason I haven't dealt with it a lot is because I'm kind of sit back as a spectator and just taking notes and watching what's going on, because I find a part of it kind of amusing. And it's amusing because I sit here, obviously, as a Black American, an African American, and also as a Muslim, which is like one of the major religions in the world, but not like the predominant religion in the United States. It's a minority. So as a minority on two fronts, and I know what it's like, right, for Hollywood to feel as though they're like picking on your particular demographic. And I've always been wondering, when Hollywood would be attacked. Like, for me, it's almost just about time. Where's all of this been? Hollywood picking on particular people is nothing new. If you study the history of Hollywood, going back to actually the first blockbuster. A lot of people don't know this. The first Hollywood blockbuster in history was a movie called Birth of a Nation. Now, for any of you who don't know what Birth of a Nation is, and I would like you to take the time and Google this, Birth of a Nation. It's the same name as a movie that was put out by Nate, I forget his last name, but it was on the story of Nat Turner. This was the one that was put out a few years back. But this is the same name of an original movie that was written back in the 1930s, I believe, or 1940s, okay, called Birth of a Nation. It was the first Hollywood blockbuster. And this movie was about the Ku Klux Klan being seen as heroes. And what were they heroes of? They were heroes pitted against black men who were played by white men who painted their face black, what we call blackface in Hollywood. Okay, so you had white men in blackface who were going around chasing white women, and the black man was the big villain. He was the big monster. He was almost like a zombie. And the fear was that they were going to go and rape all the white women. And the hero was what? The Ku Klux Klan coming through and defeating the black man. It's Hollywood. I recall in the early 1990s, okay, many of the heroes and the villains that were presented in Hollywood movies. On a small scale, let's look at Steven Seagal movies. One in particular, Marked for Death, okay? And I was in high school around this time. This came out when I was in high school, and there was a large Jamaican population of kids, and I remember how offended they were, because at this time, right, during the drug selling, it was like Jamaicans and other islanders, but Jamaicans for the most part were seen as like these vicious, drug dealing, gang warring killers. Okay, so you have Steven Seagal, the hero, basically going around and he beat up he had to beat up almost 200 Jamaicans in this movie. And I remember that, because during these years, there was this popular group called the Jamaican Shower Posse, who were moving a lot of cocaine throughout the inner cities. So basically what was going on at the time, that was the Say No to Drugs era. So you had Hollywood making a lot of their villains based off of these types of people that Americans found scary. I remember Jamaicans were offended, but there's no big outrage. Now, I do understand we didn't have social media back then. People couldn't just have a YouTube page where it could be talked about. But my point is, Hollywood doing this is something rather normal. This is nothing new. I remember a movie called The Delta Force, okay? Where you had Chuck Norris, the hero, was dealing with a group of terrorists. And Arabs are picked on a lot. Arabs and Muslims are picked on a lot in Hollywood movies. Here, the leader of this terrorist organization was a guy, I forget his name, but he was a Arabian sheikh, as they said. It's called sheikh in Arabic, but, the way a lot of English people would pronounce it, sheikh, right? This guy's walking around, all spaced out, saying that Allah, which is, the name for God in the Arabic language, Allah has commanded me to go and take over the world and attack this and that, right? So the villain there is what? The Arab terrorist is the most sinister villain. He's going to blow everybody up always, right? So this was the villain. And I'm saying all this to say, most people are accustomed to being targeted by Hollywood and its social, political viewpoints and whatever message they want to implant with people, and other demographics who weren't customarily targeted. I'm like, join the party, dude. Right now, like, I get it. I get it. You don't like the white male being vilified. I agree. I understand. I believe all people are individuals. I believe judging everyone as an individual, man, is the proper way to judge people. I don't think you should lambast whole groups of people. Even if they, from your viewpoint, were a privileged class or something like that. People are born into that. It isn't like something that they necessarily, it's something they can't really control it. Like, I'm born with my skin color. I'm born with my social class. If I was the son of Michael Jackson, I would be born rich. I mean, that's just the way that happens. I'm an involuntary actor, from that standpoint. And the same thing goes for the white male. Their ancestors did a lot of things to put them in positions, to where they are privileged. I mean, that was the goal. That was the aim and the objective. Same way with any group of people, anywhere. You do things that to set your children up, right? And I understand what they're saying about that. But really all I can say is kind of, welcome to the club, man. Like, Hollywood will pick on you, and that's what they'll do if they're, and but I think it's good that you're pushing back, that you have you're using your voice and social media to speak against it. I agree with that. I'm all for that. However, I would like to hear your voice express the other people's concerns as well. Like, it isn't fair that black people are vilified, or Muslim people are vilified, or even Hindus, or whatever, any group of people that Hollywood decides to focus on and attack. I would just like to hear, some of the same energy that you put into attacking the social justice warrior women, show some of the concern for other groups of people as well. That's all I would say. And pretty much the next time, that's all I got, people. Stay safe. Be good. Don't forget your prayers. Don't forget your vegetables. Don't forget your vitamins. Look out for your health. For Lance Speaks, I'm out.